Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.
Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Representative Kevin Avard here in New Hampshire, State Representative. Today's show is about the New Hampshire family courts. We have another incident where an individual is being shaken down, apparently, by the New Hampshire family courts. It seems as though the rules, orders, or statutes don't seem to matter anymore. What happens to matter is your checkbook. Today's show is about an individual, Jeff Carano, a man who has paid his child support, overpaid his child support, all the way until the children are above 18 years old. Well, stay tuned. Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host. And today I have Jeff, how do you say your last name, Jeff?
Carano.
Carano.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about the New Hampshire family courts.
Correct.
All right, so tell us about your case. What's going on?
Well, Kevin, I'm the 30-year man in the New Hampshire family court system. I was originally divorced in 1982. In fact, I think it was April of '82. And my next hearing date is August 1st of this year, in just a couple of weeks.
Now, you're not still applying for the divorce?
No, that's long gone.
Okay.
In fact, my divorce in 1982 cost me $350. That was it, lawyer's fees, that was it. And it seemed like a pretty equitable divorce. I mean, divorces are hard to begin with. I had 2 small children, and so things seemed to go along fine. You know, there's always problems with visitation and that kind of stuff. But anyways, in 1995, my ex-wife, through her lawyers, decided that they were going to bring forward and modify our divorce decree. And what she wanted was to include college costs for my 2 children that I had with her.
How many years after the fact is this?
Well, I was 95, so 13 years.
Okay.
So at the time, I was currently remarried, and I'm still married to the same woman. And but at the time, we had 3 minor children at home, 3 babies, ages, I think, 6, 4, and 2. And so I go to court, and Master Pam Kelly finds that I indeed will end up paying 1/2 of the college costs after scholarships, grants, and loans.
Was your ex-wife supposed to pay the other half?
Yeah, after scholarships, grants, and loans, we were going to split the difference, which doesn't sound too bad. But that's before all the games start. Now, the other thing that Pam Kelly did at that meeting was, at that hearing was, I had been overpaid in my child support through all those years.
Meaning you were overpaying what you...
My ex-wife, yes.
Was that on purpose, intentionally, or...
Well, she sat down, we went to lunch, I can't remember exactly what year it was, and she said that, you know, the kids were getting older, they needed more, blah, 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 college was coming up, and if I could do any more, would I? And I said, sure, I'll do more. And I think when we talked before, I said that I was $10,000 overpaid. Well, I went back into my notes, I was actually $17,000 overpaid, $17,260 overpaid.
That you paid over and above the 33% or whatever the state requirements
whatever
were.
the state requirements were at the time, yeah. I was overpaid by that. But we get into court, and Master Pam Kelly finds out that, or decides that I had violated an oral contract with my wife, and so therefore I was actually $10,000 behind in child support.
Okay, what is this oral contract that you're talking about?
Well, Pam Kelly decided that we had an oral contract between myself and my ex-wife, and that I had violated that because I stopped paying the overage that I was paying because my ex-wife wasn't living up to her end of what our agreement was.
Did you, in your oral contract, did you have a set amount that you would agree to, or did you just say, yeah, I'll pay you more whenever I can, or how did that work?
Well, I basically told her I would double what I was paying. So that was what Pam Kelly took as the oral agreement. And of course, you know, that she didn't say that my ex-wife broke the oral contract. I, of course, broke it. And so immediately you're classified then as a deadbeat. You know, you're behind in your child support.
Even though you overpaid by $17,000?
Yeah, even though I was way overpaid.
Did you miss any payments?
Never, never. My ex-wife moved away once, and I didn't know where she lived. And this went on for 5 or 6 months. And so I'd send out a check, and it'd come back, return to sender, you know. And she took me to court before '95. She took me to court sometime in there saying that I was behind in my child support. And that didn't even go in front of a judge. I had just had all my canceled checks, and I just went right through them, you know. And I still had all the checks that were returned to sender, and let her lawyer open them right there, you know. But even at that time, I was still well overpaid.
You didn't even open those?
No.
So, okay, there wasn't an issue there?
No, there was no issue.
Okay.
I was never behind in child support, never. I mean, that was part of my responsibility. I never had any problem with that. Where I did have a problem was in '95 when they said, well, you're going to pay for college costs. What the court was effectively saying was, you're going to take money from my 3 minor children to give it to my 2 adult children. And that's where, you know, I said, well, this isn't going to work out because I got to protect these minor children. I mean, they're more important at this point than the adult children, who can pretty much fend for themselves. They can go out and get a job. They can work at McDonald's to support their, you know, to help pay for their college.
When you say take from my minor children, you mean just by your daily providing for them?
Yeah, the fact that they're taking money from me when I'm trying to raise this family,
right.
It seems to me that, I think it's proof, actually, that they don't care about minor children in the state like they say they do. I mean, they were more interested in getting money to go through the court to the ex-wife for obvious reasons. I mean, they obviously had a reason for that, and I think the reason was that you know, they're collecting federal funds. So the more that they collect, I think the more federal funds they get.
So are you saying that if there's a child, if there's federal funds, that there is federal funds tied to college reimbursement? Is how
I would think that it's anything that goes through the court, sure.
Okay.
I mean, I can't think of another reason why they would do to me what they did.
Okay.
I mean, a guy comes in, think of it, a guy comes into your court, he's paid $17,000 more than what the court has ordered him to pay. And he's got a new family, he's got 3 young minor children, and you're still going to take money from this guy? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. I could never figure it out. And so during that '95 period, the economy got worse and worse and worse. And about that time, I was becoming self-employed. I had really no other choice. The electronic industry in New Hampshire, in the United States, had collapsed. Everything was offshore. If I was going to make any money, it was going to have to be on.
You started going through some rough times.
Yeah.
Okay.
So around 2000, 99 to 2000, I was back in there again in front of a judge. And what they do in this state, and it's a tactic that I'm sure you're familiar with if you talk to people that's been in the system, is that they always trump up the charges, or they always, in my case, it was all the receipts and everything for my share, my half of the college costs, right? And so effectively, I was paying a lawyer $200 an hour to go through and sift through all these receipts and all this crap. So everything was always overstated, and it would take hours and hours and hours to figure out what the actual amount was. And we'd end up going to court 2 or 3 times. It's part of their war of attrition on you,
Yeah.
And this happened consistently. And at the time, we were in pretty bad financial shape. We were living off of our credit cards. And I had Pam Kelly make a decision that since I was living off of my credit cards, that I could use my credit cards to pay these college costs. And like credit cards are an asset, right? So that's right in her decision. It's written right in her decision.
So use your credit cards to pay for your children's college education, and that's fine. So in other words, take out a loan to pay child support.
Yeah, even though I had no real income. In other words, my income had gone from, I was making a pretty good living at one point, down to pretty much nothing.
Right.
And
how old are your children at this time?
by 2000, they would be 12, 10, and 8.
Okay. The ones that in
Oh,
college?
the older ones, by 2000, they were, well, they'd be 21 and 20.
Can I ask you a rough question here? Basically, were they instigating this at all?
Well, they had, shortly after my wife and I got together and started having children,
A certain resentment?
there was quite a bit of resentment. So once the kids got a little bit older, it got worse and worse. And
I see. All right.
so
So take us a little further now. Pam Kelly's saying, well, use your credit cards,
Yeah.
And what'd you say? What happened?
well, I couldn't pay it.
Then what happened?
Well, I got put in jail. That was the first time I got put in jail.
Because you did not pay for the kids' college.
Right.
All right. How long were you in jail for?
Just a couple days.
All right. And what was the order? Pay up or
Yeah,
what?
as soon as you pay, I think at the time it was, I think it was like a $9,000 bill, and I think my wife was able to scrape together through stuff that we had, maybe 4 or 5 of it, and then she got some money from her mother to get me out of jail.
So you coughed up $6,000 from somewhere, 4 to 6,000,
Yeah.
so that you wouldn't spend time in jail. Okay, so it gets paid. Then what happens?
Well, then you're released.
For how long?
Well, until the next go around. Twice a year they'd come up with all these, the next semester and what you owe and all this stuff, So
And the kids didn't have to pay for any of this?
no.
And did your ex-wife pay the other half?
Supposedly.
All right, but you can't document
No,
either way.
can't document. So by the time we got into let me take a step back here. In that 99 to 2000 time frame, the reason that I went to jail basically was because they falsified some documents from Bentley College, and they actually whited out a $5,000 scholarship and put in a personal check. They falsified documents that they presented to the court. We went back to court twice trying to get authorization to get the documents from the colleges rather than through her and through the lawyer. And this was the first fraud that was perpetrated on me. And
Did you let the judge know this?
of course the judge knew that.
And what did she say?
Well, in her ruling, she said the plaintiff
States?
misstated $7,700 worth of scholarships and grants, a significant number, but she didn't penalize them at all. And her lawyer from one of the largest firms in Manchester, Wadley, Starr and Peters, her lawyer held up this envelope and he made this big speech, and he actually wrote it in his court documents that, well, if this document had come through the ex-wife, it would be one thing, but the school sent it directly to me. He's implicating himself in the fraud. The school sent it directly to me. This ought to be good enough for them. And of course, that was fraud. That was
And you could prove it's fraud?
absolutely, absolutely.
Do you still have those records?
Yes, I got them right in the other room there. We can look at them right after we're done here.
All right, and so, okay, let's progress here. So what else happened then? You can prove the fact that there was some fraud involved, some whiteout.
Yeah, so-
You paid with a credit card, your ex-wife, your new wife, strummed up some money that she borrowed from her parents to get you out of jail. Did you end up going to jail again?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, a couple of years later, I was forced to pay another fraud. And the fraud this time was the court ruled that now I had to pay for a $10,000 alternative loan. Even though my original thing was, you know, 1/2 of expenses after scholarships, grants, and loans, right?
Do they cite a rule, a law?
No, they make this up as they go along.
So there's not an order from the Supreme Court, there's not a rule, an administrative rule, or there's a statute
No,
that,
in fact,
requires them to say to you, Jeff, you have to pay this because the state legislature made a law saying you have to obey this rule.
No, no.
And we as a court, in the interest of justice, are going to make you pay this so that you're not considered a deadbeat bad to your college kids.
No, it's not like that at all. In fact, if you look at the legislature and the record in the law books, they even make reference that if my case in particular, if the husband is remarried, has other children, you know, you have to take these things into consideration before you make decisions. And that's on the page right before, you know, they say the court has discretion to have somebody pay. They don't mandate it. They just say the court has this discretion, leaving it up to the courts that they would be honest about it.
It's wide open, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wide open because now you get the federal money involved, and
it gives them incentive.
it gives them incentive to
So there's a $10,000
loan now that I have to pay.
cloud over your head. Okay, did you end up paying that?
I didn't pay it. No, I went to jail. My father had to bail me out on that one.
Okay, where did that bail go to?
My ex-wife.
All right, so the bail didn't go to the court. The bail went to the ex-wife.
Well, you had to pay the court, and then the court paid her.
Let me ask you a question. Was it cash?
No, my father, they wanted cash. They asked for cash, and my dad refused. He said, I just got out of the hospital. I just had a heart attack. I just got out of the hospital. I'm not going to bring cash into this place.
So how did he pay?
He paid at the clerk of courts with a cashier's check.
Basically cash.
Yeah, but it wasn't cash bill. They wanted cash bills.
They wouldn't take a check.
No,
obviously.
They wanted him to go to the prison and pay the prison in Brentwood with cash.
So money came out from your dad's bank account to get you out of jail for money that you didn't have. Did your ex-wife have to pay the other $10,000 for that loan?
No.
Okay. So now all this money's gone to them. Where does it stand with you? Why are you still dealing with this?
Well, the reason I'm still dealing with it is because
not that I'm excusing anything that's going on.
Okay, no, let's back up a little bit. In 2005, when all this started, it started as a tree loan, and then they changed it to an alternative loan because we had a document saying the tree loan came from Bentley College, right? They were trying to say that this alternative loan was not a school loan. Now, you know the difference between a school loan and a regular loan. A school loan has deferred payments, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we take this decision to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, my Supreme Court hearing is pretty funny. It's April 2006. You've got to go back and look at it. Chief Justice Broderick at the time.
Is that the one who got impeached? No,
No, Broderick didn't get impeached. Chief Justice Broderick at the time butts himself into my 3J hearing. And the reason he did that is because I have history with Broderick. I was part of the group that testified in Concord against or for the stopping the courts from issuing orders to pay for college. I was part of that group, but also I was part of his listening tour. And I testified in front of his listening tour, and I gave that group an earful.
Was it complimentary to Judge Broderick?
Oh, no, not at all. And then I wrote, of course, a letter to the editor, because at the time I was into writing letters to the editors. I wrote quite a few. And basically I insulted him. I said that anybody that has had so much trouble in his family life. He was arrested once for beating his son, and of course that got swept under the carpet.
Did the Judge Broderick see these articles?
Well, I don't know if he saw them or not, but what he did see is I was also the anchor for their case against sleeping Judge Coffey. I was the timeline. When she fell asleep at that rape trial, I happened to have been in her court in 2000 on another matter, and she'd fallen asleep in that. So I wrote a letter to the editor about sleeping Judge Coffey, and I kind of made it humorous about her. But then when she fell asleep in that rape trial, and it made the papers, and it became a national story, every time they mentioned Patricia Coffey, the next paragraph was Jeffrey Carano from Epping, New Hampshire said, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So if he saw any of those, which I'm sure he saw a bunch of them,
right,
then he saw my name.
So you're saying that Judge Broderick imposed himself into this
Absolutely.
case, into the Supreme Court?
Yeah, and the connection between him and Coffey, I'm not sure what the connection is, but he recused himself from her disciplinary actions when they were drumming her out of the Superior Court because of what she did with her ex-husband's assets after he bilked that poor woman out of
Oh, yes.
out of all her assets
Right.
in Rye.
All right. So now he's involved in your case.
He's
and
involved in
he
my
didn't-
case.
He chose not to recuse himself
Right.
for some reason.
Now, on this alternative loan, there were never any documents issued to the court, and we asked for them. We asked, where are the documents? Where are the proof that my ex is paying for this? In the 3J hearing, my lawyer says, well, we don't have the documents. You know, where are the loan documents? We want the loan documents. Give us the loan documents. The courts made these decisions without the loan documents. And that's
is that
fraud.
because of Rule 1.2?
I don't know what
Waiver
rule.
of rules, basically? No, rules of evidence?
I don't know what it's about,
I see.
but can you imagine being forced to pay for something that doesn't exist? Prove that it exists.
Right.
It doesn't exist. So I couldn't afford to pay for it anyways. And they knew that. And
Based upon your financial
right.
affidavits.
And so the other part of the Supreme Court hearing was I was found in contempt in the family court, and we argued, well, how could he be found for contempt when there's no decision on his financial affidavit on whether he could afford to pay or not? And the ruling there was, well, we don't need a ruling on his financial affidavits in order to find him for contempt.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have those financial affidavits?
If I don't have them, I'm sure that
But you did submit financial
yeah.
affidavits?
Oh, yeah.
And they chose not to look at them?
they never made a ruling on my financial affidavits. Never, not once.
And found you in contempt, which led to what? Now what?
Well, I owed that $10,000 now for this alternative loan. And that was the other thing we argued.
And then that's when you went to jail, and your father then bailed you out
Yeah.
with his savings?
Yeah. Yeah, my father's, you know, now he's 82, so he was probably 78 years old. And what else was he going to do? So, the other problem here, the other thing is that in 2000, my wife was in a serious car accident. And then in 2000...
Your new wife?
Yeah.
Yes.
The last one was so long ago, I don't,
All right,
you know,
okay.
when I say that, I don't even think of her as an ex-wife. I just think of her as an acquaintance now. I mean, it's been over 30 years. But in 2000, my current wife was in a bad car accident, and she got hurt pretty bad. She was on 125, 60-mile-an-hour head-on. And then in 2001, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So from 2000 to 2003, I bet we spent more time in doctors' offices and hospitals than at home. And you got to remember now, I'm self-employed. I can't work. I'm with her. She obviously couldn't work. She was working part-time anyways, but after that, she couldn't work. So we got all these medical bills piling up, right? Do you think the courts would give us any consideration for that? No. Now, of course, my kids are a little bit older. My three younger kids are a little bit older. They're getting close to teenage years. They need more of parenting than anything else at that point. And you think the courts would give me any relief? None whatsoever. And the court knew all this. The court knew about the accident. They knew about the multiple sclerosis. They knew we were spending, I think in 2002, in 2001 we spent over $6,000 out of pocket on her medical care, not counting our premiums.
And how old are your oldest children at this time?
Had to be 21 and 20. 2000, 2001, 2002. Yeah. And so I got these 3 young kids coming up to teenagers real quick, you know, and they're into sports and, you know, all the extracurricular things that you got to do. I've got a very sick wife, and I'm getting no help from the state.
And you've been in debtor's jail for twice now. You've been in debtor's jail twice.
Well, but
at this point, and now
but
your dad gave you that money.
yeah,
now?
that was 2005. Now was the
Right.
second time when I was in jail.
And what are you dealing with now? Where does this stand now?
Well, because I was found in contempt, it was decided that I had to pay lawyer's fees for my ex-wife.
Okay.
Okay, so the lawyer's fees turned out to be $4,600, and I had to pay interest to my ex-wife, which was like $1,200, right?
Contempt on the affidavits that were never seen.
Contempt on the non-payment of
Right.
the loans and making her lawyer work and go to the Supreme Court and
I got
stuff,
that.
you know, all
Yep.
this stuff. So there,
Now there's a $4,600, or
Yeah.
did I get that number right?
well, that was back a few years now.
All right.
Okay, but the funny thing is the first amount that the lawyers put in for was they wanted $16,000, and you know, I think even the judge's eyes bugged out of her head at that point in time. I mean, she wasn't going to go for that, so they came back with $4,600, and so I paid that for a couple of years. I was paying $200 a month. I paid roughly $2,000 of it, quit paying it, and then her lawyer, who's at the time, his name was Sargent, from Wadley, Starr and Peters, who's no longer with them. He must have been in Brentwood or something, because he filed an ex parte contempt order against me. And the judge didn't go along with it, but set up a hearing date for, I think it was April 13th of 2010. Well, on April 12th of 2010, I filed for bankruptcy protection. We had a lot of bills, medical bills, from built up over the years from my ex-wife and everything, so I just wanted to clear the slate. And the $2,600 that I owed them was involved in that. So that was April of 2010. May of 2012, 2 years, everything's discharged, right? Now the court, now this is this year now, the court takes it upon themselves to call a hearing.
Not at anybody's behest.
Not at anybody's behest. The court takes it upon themselves to call a hearing. They called it a status meeting. Come in for a status meeting.
Is this a routine thing that the courts do on a regular basis, status meetings?
I don't know. Do civil courts pick sides? Because that's what they did. They picked sides.
Is this a civil court or an equity court?
I think it's a civil court, isn't it?
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So there's a status hearing. Obviously, this must have come to the surface for some reason.
Well, it was funny. I get there, and a new master now, and she immediately wants to swear us in. So I was kind of shocked. So I wasn't.
A marital master?
Yeah. So I wasn't thinking too clear at the time, and I allowed her to swear me in. So we get sworn in, and she just starts in on this bankruptcy stuff. And the other side was all prepared. I mean, I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know what this hearing was about. It said on my paper, a status meeting.
Okay, so not a reason for the hearing.
No.
It's just other than the status of what on that notice? A status hearing of what?
I guess of the...
Dear Jeff, there's a meeting, and it's a status meeting on
Well,
something you need to appear at such
on
and such a
April
date.
12th of 2010, when I filed for bankruptcy, I called Sargent, and I said, I just filed for bankruptcy. And he says, well, I'll take care of it. As soon as I see it come up on the computer, I'll take care of the courts tomorrow. You don't have to show up. We're all done. That's what he said. So I looked for the paperwork saying that he filed something saying that, you know, we don't have to go to court on the 13th. I couldn't find it in my records. I'm not even sure if I would ever get a copy of that. I'm sure it's in the record at the court. But that's the only thing that could be open, because, you know, he asked for contempt because I quit paying, filed for bankruptcy, which automatically stays any contempt hearing or anything like that.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that
It's done.
it's done. I'm assuming now that they're going to make a finding of contempt here when I go back to court in August.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's
Okay, so the status hearing is,
the status hearing was a month or so ago.
okay, and you didn't show?
No, I showed up.
Okay.
And then the judge, the master gave me all these things that she wanted.
Who's the master?
I can't pronounce her name. Her first name is Henrietta, I want to say LaRue. It's not,
Okay. And in what town? What city?
Brentwood.
In Brentwood. So this is not going away.
No, it gets worse and worse and worse. It is just nonstop.
And this is for a remaining balance of $2,000, which was
Lawyers' fees.
and taken care of in the bankruptcy, supposedly.
They didn't show up and contest it.
Okay, so nobody showed up. You went to the hearing with what did you have in your hand at the hearing? You didn't know what it was about, right?
Right.
So you went to the hearing. Somebody came prepared. You said. What's your sense of what happened?
Well, I think the courts are coming after me. But what else can I think?
For how much?
Well, it's funny. I assume it's just for the $2,600 balance that I supposedly owe the lawyers. You know, I thought it was discharge. But the master looks down at me and she says, and I want you to file an affidavit, a financial affidavit, because these are her exact words, I want to see how you're living. Now, when she says that, I know what she's saying. I want to see how much money I can steal from you, because that's basically what they're doing.
I want to see, the judge said, I want to see how you're living?
I want to see how you're living. I want you to file that financial affidavit because I want to see how you're living.
A marital master said that to you?
Yeah, I want to.
Okay, and you were under oath?
Yeah, I want to see how you're living. That's what she said. Unbelievable.
So now you're just waiting to find out her ruling?
Well, no, we go back on August 1st is the next court date. Now, he's got up until 2 weeks before that date to file paperwork saying why I should pay the $2,600, and then I'll have 10 days after to rebut that, and then we have a hearing on August 1st.
Oh, well, I wish you luck. I don't know what to tell you.
Well,
this is. Have you filed a grievance with the House?
No, I haven't. And when I was working with David Bickford's group to get college education off the table, rumbling of this grievance committee had just started.
Right.
And I'm sure you know him. I can't remember the congressman in Fremont. I can't remember his name.
The representative, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I wasn't laughing at you. I'm laughing at the whole circumstance.
Yeah.
Some of these cases seem to blow your mind. My editorial here is that it seems like it's a shakedown.
It is a shakedown.
Yeah.
It's nothing other than a shakedown. I took myself through bankruptcy, pro se. I had no problems. It sailed right through. Because you have rules, and everybody's playing by the same rules. I've had the IRS investigate me twice, self-employed. I didn't hire a lawyer. I went to those meetings myself. I had everything they wanted. The cases were dissolved. One case, they thought that I owed them 40 grand. It came that they owed me 6. I mean, but it was simple. We sat down, we went through everything. I had nothing to hide, right? But I mean, I have a habit of being able to deal with this type of situation. Here, there's nothing you can do. You know, I was paying a lawyer $200 an hour, and she's going through receipts, trying to figure out, you know, which ones are real and which ones are falsified. It's absurd. It's a war of attrition. They want to punish you, beat you, stomp you, destroy you.
Regardless of whether you're doing something good or bad.
Regardless of anything.
Interesting.
At least in my case.
Yeah.
And from what I hear talking to other people, it's the same thing. I mean, now they've got this crap with these guardian ad litem. You know, it's a sham.
Well, we just, on the redress of grievance today, actually we had a finding of 10-1 where Judge Arnold, just totally ruined this man and his relationship with his daughter for 2.5 years. Totally just separated these people and violated his liberties. And the committee came out with a finding of 10-1 today.
But what's that? So is there any teeth in that?
Well, we'll see, won't we? It's going to go before the House, and I believe we'll have to end up voting on that because part of our findings will be a prompt, hopefully, an investigation towards impeachment if these are, depending upon, the House. But what we're finding is there seems to be a huge pattern within the family courts throughout New Hampshire, and we're looking to see if we can remedy some of these problems. But part of the problem is that the New Hampshire citizens, and this isn't just New Hampshire, it's happening around our country. But what the New Hampshire citizens have to know is that this is going on. And as everybody's living their busy lives, meanwhile, some people are being shaken, it appears. And there seems to be a lot of smoke, and we need to bring it to light. The House, as a result of some of our work here on the Redress of Grievance Committee, passed a bill, CACR 26. It is a constitutional amendment. It is the ability for the New Hampshire citizens to get some of their power back, which right now rests exclusively with the courts. Yeah. This is the rulemaking authority which has been given to the courts since 1978. The courts have the ability to make rules, but what was never on the ballot, what the people never saw, was that these rules will have the effect of law. It was never on the 1978 ballot. So now it's going to be on the ballot. And what will be on the ballot is the fact that the legislature will be able to challenge the rules. The people have to know that it's the legislature which is their voice.
That's right.
So if there is a bad rule, Rule 1.2, waiver of rules, it used to be a good idea. It was there for a purpose for people who couldn't make it to the court or didn't file something and they had a hardship. Okay, we'll waive that rule that you have to submit something by such and such a time in the interest of justice. That has turned into a malignant cancer in our courts. So now, if a person spends $40, $60, $100,000 on attorney's fees, and all that evidence is brought to court, well, my gosh, in the interest of justice and for good cause, we're going to waive the rules of evidence. That's not what it was meant to do. And we're going to go with what the guardian ad litem has. And by the way, that information that guardian ad litem has is going to implicate you. And you're going to have no say in the matter because we're going to put that in a sealed envelope and we're going to make our decision. You're not going to be able to see what's in that sealed envelope. Yeah. So good luck, Charlie. Yeah. And that's what's been happening as I can see. That's come before our committee.
I feel so sorry for those people that having their kids ripped away from them like that with these guardian ad litems.
Having done no wrong.
And have done nothing wrong. Well, like me, what did I do wrong? 30 years. I've had the state on my back for 30 years. You know how it's probably shortened my life with all the stress, you know?
Right.
I mean, you have no idea. But I've thought about this a lot, and there's two things. And from the very first time I went back to court in '95, why can't I go in front of a jury? Right?
Did you request it?
Yes.
You requested a jury.
You can't get a jury.
Did you request a jury?
I requested it through my lawyer.
Did the lawyer actually say to the judge, we request a jury?
I don't know.
All right.
I said, I want a jury trial. She said, I can't.
Your attorney, but not the judge?
Yeah.
Okay. But people can know that they can request that with a judge. Okay, that's
you can have a jury?
I think in some cases, I think it was in Gus's case, petition number. You know what? I need to be clear on my facts. I know that he was denied a jury, but it had something to do with the guardian ad litem. But I'm not sure, so please don't quote me on that.
Okay.
So what I want to go right now with the show, because we're coming to a close, You're going to be going back to court August
1st.
1st for an additional hearing. And I guess just take me beyond that, and we got 5 minutes before we have to close.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I have no clue. I mean, I've been going back and forth in my head. Should I stand up and just state the facts again on this case with the fraud involved with this alternative loan and the fraud involved with them falsifying documents and all the lying and thieving? Should I bring that up again?
Why?
Should I ask for?
How will a marital master help you with that?
Well, I don't know. I was hoping maybe I would maybe appeal to her sense of goodness.
Right.
It's doubtful.
If somebody has an answer, how can they come and get in touch with you?
603-685-3390 or carano@gmail.com.
How do you spell
CARANO@gmail.com.
Okay, well, we're going to be posting this on YouTube and hopefully on a few other websites. And we'll try to get the information out there. Feel free to post it as well once you see it. But we appreciate you coming on the show. Are there any final thoughts that you want to leave with me?
No, if there's anything I can do to help you guys out in whatever you're doing, just let me know. I mean,
do you plan on filing a grievance with the New Hampshire House?
oh, I'd love to.
All right. One of the things that you'll have to do is find a sponsor, and some of the representatives will actually see this show, and hopefully you can ask your local representative. Good luck if it's a Democrat. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they don't care to do
no,
this.
it's Dan Hickey's.
Itzy.
Yeah.
He'll
sponsor me.
He will? Okay.
I'm pretty sure he
You're
will. He knows.
You're in good hands with him because he is constitutional. He loves the Constitution, and he's a fighter. And he will fight for you if you can get him. There are other state reps as well, but you definitely need a sponsor. And I wish you the best. And thanks for coming on the show.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. If you enjoy the show, speak up, and you have a case that you want to bring before me or before our viewers, please contact me at speakupnh@gmail.com. That's speakupnh@gmail.com. And finally, we're looking for sponsors for this show. We want to continue, and we could use your support. Again, it's the same email address. If you feel that this is a worthwhile show, please sponsor us. We can use all the help that we can get. Until next week, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.